Another sign of aging in this cabin is down here. Look at this. What's going on there? Is that mold or is that like from salt water or something? Doesn't look nice. Good morning, everybody. I am just waking up here on the Independence of the Seas. I guess I've been awake for maybe like 45 minutes. I've been awake long enough to put on clothes, brush my teeth, and film the cabin tour, which is probably online already. And I have a little bit of time in the cabin alone because my sister, who I'm cruising with, who is cruising for the very first time, has gone to breakfast in the main dining room. And if you know anything about me and my eating habits, you know
I ain't going to breakfast in the main dining room.
And if you don't know anything about me, I'm Morgan from the very unofficial travel guides. I've been making travel videos for over 15 years of popular and not so popular tourist destinations to give you a very honest, unofficial look at what it's like to be there. Nobody pays me to go anywhere and see anything. I just kind of go there and tell you like it is. And I also have a book out telling a little bit about what I did before I started making YouTube videos, how I started making YouTube videos, and then there's 10 true stories of things that have actually happened to me while traveling around the world, including having to get stitches on a cruise ship, and that's the title of the book. It's available on Amazon now. Check it out. Okay, today I wanted to go through some of the things that my sister has been talking about that just for me as somebody who's been on a lot of cruise ships have made me think, And unfortunately, a lot of them are kind of negative points. And the reason I say unfortunately is because it's my sister's first cruise and I wanted it to be fantastic for her, obviously. Unfortunate because I feel like the trend at the moment on YouTube is to be actively negative because that is somehow what YouTube likes to push out into people's YouTube feeds. And unfortunate because I feel like, I don't know, I hope it's just this ship, but I feel like Royal Caribbean might be kind of going downhill a little bit. This cruise that we are on is, like I said, on the Independence of the Seas. We left Miami, we had a sea day, we had a day in Labadee, which was amazing. Now we have another sea day to sail back to Miami and we disembark tomorrow. So it is a shortish cruise with just one stop in, if you have to stop one place, Labadee's pretty good place to do it. And first of all, I want to tell you about some things that have been really great in addition to our day on Labadee. The pool deck and the amplifications that Royal has added to the top deck of this ship are really great. They added some water slides, they added this big round thing that I think used to be something else, and now it's kind of used as a multi-purpose place where we've gone up there to play ladder ball and we've played beanbag toss and they have other activities in there. But can somebody please tell me, what was that originally? It had something to do with like bungee cords and VR glasses, right? If you know what it is, please write it in the comments below. Not the comments above, the comments below. Why do we say that? Like, they are only below. I'm sorry. We people who make YouTube videos, sometimes we just get into habits. Also, the shows we've seen so far, we saw a show called Invitation to Dance, I think is what it was called, and the ice skating show, which was called Freeze Frame. The talent, amazing. The costumes, amazing. However, both of these shows are the old school style of Royal Caribbean shows, which in a way I prefer because they're not trying to tell some kind of artsy story. It's really just about singing and dancing and entertaining and having fun, or ice skating and having fun. But just as an FYI, the technology used in these shows is still older technology. So the newer shows have people flying through the air, they have drones, they have many more moving light objects. If there are projections happening in the show, they will be the highest resolution of projections available at the moment. On this ship, the opening curtain of the dance show that we saw, it looked like you can buy a projector that will make a better signal than this projector for like $180 at Target now than what they're using on the Independence of the Seas. The first impression of this show was that it is really outdated just because this projection was so bad. And I know, these are all first world problems because, hey, I'm on a cruise, we're having a fantastic time. That's not what this video or any video on the Very Unofficial Travel Guides is about. This is about sharing my experience with you so you know what to expect when you get here. And if you have been on one of the Royal Caribbean ships with the newer shows, I think you're going to be kind of surprised if you come on the Independence of the Seas because these are older style shows. I have to say this in between, the service on board has been absolutely top notch. We've had great experiences with our cabin steward, with the wait staff in the main dining room, in the buffet, and my sister is such a fan of the cruise director already. She thinks that would be such a fun job, which, yeah, of course, I think it would be too. And we also had a great time playing Name That Tune Disney, even though we didn't win. Two of the other activities we've done that I talked about have been ladder ball and beanbag toss, or in the Midwest, we call it cornhole. And these are sort of like yard games that you play at picnics and things like that. I think most of you know how these games work. And we played and we had a good time, and my sister almost won ladder ball.
Go Minnesota, girl.
And I also went to play pickleball one morning, and actually pickleball's happening right now, but I didn't go, and I'll tell you why. The conditions of the apparatuses, I don't know how to say it in English right now, the stuff that we were using to play pickleball and ladder ball and beanbag toss, very tired people, falling apart tired. And this is something that I didn't even really think about. And I think I'm in the luxurious position that I cruise many times a year. My sister is in the opposite position that this is her first cruise ever, and it's, because of that, there's a lot of expectations, a lot of things weighing on it. I wouldn't have even thought of it, but my sister mentioned to me last night when we were having a nice glass of wine that she's surprised at the poor state of those fun things. And I thought, yeah, you're right. How difficult is it to replace a broken cornhole board? I mean, these things were falling apart. I don't know if I got a video of it, but they are way bent in the middle, and the legs they have to stand up kept collapsing, and they had to put it back up. And I just thought, yeah, come on, Royal Caribbean, can't you buy a new one? Is that what you want to be presenting your guests? The handles on pickleball were also just totally falling apart and threadbare, and the one I had to use, my hand was all sticky afterwards because the glue was disintegrating. And I know this is just a minor thing, but I guess, like I said, for somebody like my sister, who it's her first cruise, and so many other people who may only do, one cruise a year or one cruise every couple of years, you kind of want everything to be perfect. And of course, it's never going to be all perfect. There's always going to be things that go differently than you expected or a little bit less than what you were hoping for. But like I was talking about with my sister, replacing cornhole board or getting a new ladder ball ladder or wrapping a new grip around a pickleball paddle, those are really easy wins that Royal Caribbean, at least on this ship, seem to be kind of overlooking. There's been another huge issue that I want to tell you about that I would never have noticed or thought about if I hadn't done this cruise with my sister. And before I tell you about that, I would just really like to invite you to subscribe to the Very Unofficial Travel Guides. I don't only do cruising videos, but I kind of mostly do cruising videos. The next big trip I have planned is going to be another trip to Orlando, where I will be showing you some of the fun things to expect in the theme parks from my perspective as an almost 50-year-old man who still likes to ride roller coasters. So if you're interested in seeing videos about all that kind of stuff and more, consider subscribing and pressing the notification button. All right, if you've been watching videos on the Very Unofficial Travel Guides for a while, you know I have a specific diet, and I'm kind of a picky eater because I don't like to eat meat, and I also don't like to eat certain very popular vegetables like mushrooms. Ugh, who likes mushrooms? And that can sometimes make going out to eat at restaurants on land, or especially here on the ship going to the main dining room, that can make things complicated for me. Well, my sister eats just about everything except gluten. So my sister is gluten sensitive. That means she can eat a little bit of bread or have a sip of beer or something, but if she goes too far, then it just doesn't end well. Let's say that. And I didn't realize this, and I assumed actually the exact opposite, but at least here on the Independence of the Seas, this is kind of a big problem. My sister has been having kind of a struggle finding gluten-free options, especially in the buffet. I need to be maybe a little bit more specific. And I can do it from my perspective as well. As somebody who eats vegetarian, that doesn't mean that I just like to eat vegetables. People who don't eat meat don't just eat salads for every meal. There are so many other options, like tasty pasta things, like Mexican food, like Indian food, like Mediterranean food. There are so many great dishes that can be prepared as a main dish or an appetizer that don't have meat in them, not just salads. So I guess one of the main complications that we have run into for people who need to eat gluten-friendly on this ship is not necessarily that there aren't gluten-free things offered, like salads, like fresh fruit and things like that. It's been more that the things that they prepare specifically as gluten-free have just not been good, like gluten-free pancakes, gluten-free bread, gluten-free buns. I don't eat gluten-free, so I don't know. I have to take my sister's word for it, but she's been saying that those specific gluten-free products are like the lowest level of gluten-free products that you can get. Now that I'm back home, I just want to elaborate on this food situation a little bit more. Here's a perfect example of the Independence of the Seas or Royal Caribbean just kind of missing the ball as far as gluten-free options goes. In the buffet for several meals, the only gluten-free desserts being offered were ice cream, fresh fruit, or Jell-O. And my sister's like, yeah, I mean, I like ice cream, but there's just so many easy options to make gluten-free desserts, and there should have been some there. And I know from spending time with her and her family now in Orlando just a couple months ago, actually, that was just last month. Doesn't matter. There are so many really tasty, pre-packaged gluten-free cookies and brownies and baked goods. And like, how hard is it to just have a bowl of pre-packaged cookies and brownies at the buffet? Seems like an easy win, but nope. You want a dessert? Have some Jell-O. Also, up on the pool deck, there's a relatively new dining venue called Fish and Chips. They offer fried fish, French fries or chips, and chicken tenders, and they had nothing gluten-free. My sister's like, you can go to literally any sporting event in the United States, just about any restaurant, any fast food restaurant, and definitely any Disney park, and it is super easy to get gluten-free chicken tenders. It's like one of the staples of gluten-free items anywhere on any menu. How can it be that Royal Caribbean, one of these like leading entertainment, travel, cruise companies, does not offer gluten-free chicken tenders? It's like step one. So yeah, I mean, it might be nitpicking, but I can understand from her perspective that when so many other things have been disappointing, and then you think, okay, there's always gluten-free chicken tenders. I'm just gonna get some gluten-free chicken tenders. It's kind of like comfort food. And then they don't even have that. I get it. I can understand why that would be disappointing. I thought Royal Caribbean would be more in tune to catering to that specific dietary restriction, because I know how much better. Oops, the battery ran out on my camera, so I'm filming with my iPhone now. Anyways, I'm just saying that I was surprised that Royal Caribbean apparently doesn't cater more to the gluten-free or gluten-friendly diet people. Please let me know if this has been your experience as well. If you are somebody who has a gluten situation, let me know which cruise lines do it better, if it is all together on Royal Caribbean, or is it maybe just that the chef here on the Independence of the Seas kind of doesn't do it. It's not something I really thought about because that doesn't affect me specifically, and I've been finding the vegetarian options really just kind of okay on this cruise. But like I said, I don't put like so much weight on it because for me it's just one of many cruises, but for my sister it's a really special thing, and so that's why she notices it even more, I guess. As always, I'm interested to hear your opinion on not just the gluten-free thing, but all these things. Have you cruised with Royal Caribbean lately? How has the experience been? Have you noticed, like I have now, that like the last couple of Royal Caribbean ships I have cruised on have been the Harmony of the Seas and the Wonder of the Seas, two really big, really much newer ships. And, you know, I know that the Independence of the Seas is not one of their newer ships, but I know that it had been amplified. I was just also expecting a little bit more, expecting it to just look a little bit more new, and it hasn't been like that. In case you haven't watched the cabin tour, let me just show you the couch real quick. Do you see how nasty this looks? Is that what you would expect from Royal Caribbean? You know what I mean? Another sign of aging in this cabin is down here. Look at this. What's going on there? Is that mold, or is that like from salt water or something? Doesn't look nice. Is Royal Caribbean going downhill, or is it just this ship or just this cruise? Let me know what you think about all that in the comments, and I look forward to seeing you here again soon. Bye-bye.